Hey, so today's gonna be a movie review about Intruder. Intruder is a movie, if you couldn't tell by this being a movie review on a movie review YouTube channel. This movie is horrible. I usually wait to say if it's good or bad till the end, but it's bad. This movie is really, really bad. Now, in case you don't believe me for some reason, you can go watch it. Yeah, but I mean, feel free. Feel free to go waste your time watching this movie. I'm just kidding. You should go watch this movie. And I'm about to tell you why, but you shouldn't go watch it at the movies. You should wait till it comes out on Netflix or something like that. And if you're one of those people, I'm not going to tell you to illegally pirate something offline, but you can illegally pirate it offline. Now, the movie is a movie you should see, not because how bad it is, but because how funny it is that it is horrible. It is so horrible that it is funny. I just said the same thing twice. Anyways, so the movie is hilarious. The villains are hilarious. The writing's horrible. The editing's horrible. The action's horrible. The plot's horrible. The main characters are horrible. Except for the villain, he is amazing. The guy who plays the villain, I can't remember his name right now. Um, he's awesome in this movie. Not in like a good way, but like in the way that the people who wrote the movie probably don't know how to write a movie, and he didn't fit into the movie. But for what his character was, he played it amazingly, and I really did believe that he's a crazy old white man. So, in this movie, his motives, the villain's motives, is there's a black lady, and he finds her very attractive, and he's been single for a while. So he's like, well, I'm gonna steal that dude's girl. And that's the whole movie's premise. Oh yeah, and he's crazy. That's another thing. So this young black couple that are married that don't even seem like they like each other, to be honest with you. They want a house, so they go to this guy's house. They try to buy it. The black guy, by the way, I don't remember any of the character names, they weren't important. Um, the black guy, we're gonna call him Ralph. Ralph is the main black character man with the glasses. So Ralph and his wife go to buy the old man's house. We're just gonna call him Old Man. So Ralph, the woman, her name's Woman, Ralph, Woman, and Old Man are in this house together. Old Man's showing them his house that he's trying to sell to them for, I believe, $3.5 million was the exact number. So they go up to his house, they drive up, and they see a deer. So, like anyone does when they see a deer, they walk out into the woods and look at the deer. And then, Old Man shoots it in the head with a rifle. Right next to him, they all freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, some old dude shot a deer. Like, that's not a normal thing that happens. It's hunting. Do they not know hunting exists? Anyways, so he shoots the deer. The deer's dead. Then he's like, oh, relax, because they're just like freaking the flip out because some dude just shot a deer, and they're like screaming. They're like, whoa, whoa, put the gun down, put the gun down. So he's like, hey, relax. This is my house, and he has a name for it. I think it's foxglove, which I think they said was a poisonous flower. I don't remember. So eventually they leave because the guy's like kind of rude in like a creepy way. So they just walk to the car, get in, and they're about to drive off. And he's like, "Hey, I really want you guys to buy the house because I like you guys. You seem like a nice couple. I'll drop off point 0.2 of the million, so it'll be 3.3 million even, and I'll leave all of my furniture and stuff in the house." So they drive off. The wife really wants the house. By the way, the whole theme of like the wife's character is she's like super selfish. Like she wants the house. The husband doesn't like the house, but she really wants the house. So she's just like, "Oh, we want this house. I thought you'd wanted it, or whatever." So the whole point of that is, well, I don't know what her whole point of liking the house is. It's just like an old big house for way too much money, and they buy the house. Surprise. Um, so the old dude's like, "Okay, have fun in the house and stuff. I'm moving to Florida," and there's a lot of like stuff mentioned for sake of for sake of the story, so that they can bring it back up later and be like, "Hey, you remember that thing that we said that didn't make much sense, but now it does because we planned this." Um, so one thing that they say is the guy just kind of comes out and says his wife had cancer and she died 2 years ago, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, whatever." And then when the guy's leaving, he's like, "I'm moving to Florida with my daughter, Lacey, or something." And so he drives off. And then the next day, when the husband's at work, Ralph, old man, is in their yard mowing it. And woman's like, "Whoa, old man's in the yard mowing." So she calls Ralph. And Ralph's like, "I thought he was leaving." Then he was like, um, "My flight was delayed, blah, blah, blah." And he stays there a while. And the husband is instantly creeped out by this dude. Like, the first second they meet him up until, like, the end of the movie, he just hates this dude for some reason. And then, like, they just continue with, like, Ralph's being creeped out by the guy. And by the way, I didn't mention this. Ralph has a friend. He is a younger white dude who smokes and has a fancy car, and is also dating a woman that he doesn't like, and she doesn't like him either. This appears to be a common theme in this world of this movie, where people just hate everybody that they're married to or dating, because I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Old man's wife didn't die of cancer. He shot her in the head with a shotgun and made it look like she committed suicide. And then Ralph finds out about this because he starts looking into him with some typical Asian IT dude looking into him on the internet. And that's a big part of the movie. Also, Ralph has cheated on her in the past, and that just comes up randomly. I don't know why that was in the movie. Then a woman kisses him at a nightclub because he went to a nightclub to get drunk with people. And then he's like, "No, I can't do this. I gotta go home." And guess what? He goes home, and old man's there with woman. So yeah, that's like the first 3/4 of the movie. It took me like 2 hours to get to that part. After that, the story gets to the actual like scary part. Creepy stuff starts happening. So Ralph freaks out at the old man, tells him to leave his house, never come back. When he goes to a bar that the old man's at, because he's living at this hotel called like Royale or some crap, and Ralph threatens him. He's like, stay away from my wife, don't come to my house. And he's like, yeah, okay. Then Ralph gets hit by a car when he's jogging at nighttime with earbuds in and a hood up. Um, and just right after the old man goes over to woman's house because he's like, oh, when my wife was sick or dead or whatever the freak, I felt lonely, so I know you feel lonely. He hands her a pizza with everything on it and says, hey, you can have this, just pick off the stuff you don't want. Then he walks off, and she's like, oh, this pizza's too big. You can have it. By the way, there's no, not telling that this guy's crazy because the whole movie is just, showing random shots of him just, standing in dark corners looking at them from inside their house. I think it would have been better if they just didn't show that and they just tried to make us think, oh, the main characters are crazy. But they didn't. Anyways, so Ralph sends the white boyfriend who smokes, we'll just call him Smoker. Smoker goes over to the house and he's watching them from the backyard. By the way, I didn't mention this, but Ralph set up a security scanner because he thought he saw somebody in the backyard. So the security scanner just doesn't go off because the dude's standing there looking at them from the backyard. Then old man goes out, runs out with an axe. He tells the woman, he's like, woman, there's somebody looking at us from the backyard through the window. Don't turn around. He'll know that we saw him. So Ralph just not Ralph. So old man grabs a axe and runs out there, and it's Smoker. So Smoker's out there, and he's freaking out, obviously, because he's getting chased with an axe. And old man obviously knows that it's Smoker. He just doesn't let anybody else know that. Then he's walking with him. He's like, hey, go ahead. You're shaking like a leaf. Have a cigarette. I think that's exactly what he said. And the dude's like, no, I'm good. He's like, go ahead, have a cigarette. He's like, nah, man, I'm good. And he's like, I insist, have a cigarette. So the guy's starts shaking really bad, has a cigarette. Then he gives the cigarette to old man because old man's like, what, you're not going to give me one? And then Smoker's like, I thought you said you didn't smoke, which he did earlier in the movie, which I don't know, that was a random line. He just said, I stopped smoking 30 years ago, and it was just a random line in the movie. I guess to set up that line, and old man replies by going, really? And that's all. He takes the cigarette, he lights Smoker's cigarette, and then he has his in his mouth, and he just doesn't light it, and then he's like, oh, I'll save this for later, and puts it behind his ear. And then they're walking, and he starts doing typical villain monologue, and Smoker's getting kind of weirded out, even though he's been weirded out the whole time. And then, bam, he gets hit by an axe. So, old man kills Smoker, goes back in to woman, and woman is sitting there waiting on him, and she called her husband Ralph's phone, but he's in the hospital, obviously because he got hit by a car, and he's sleeping. So, old man acts like he twisted his ankle, comes in, she's looking at his ankle, he's acting weird and sniffing her head and crap, and she doesn't notice because she's dumb. And then you find out that she doesn't want him to stay the night, obviously, and he just leaves. And what happens next may shock you. No, I'm just kidding. So Ralph comes home. He's all upset because dude was in his house and he shouldn't be. And when he comes home, old man's there with the flowers, foxglove, the poisonous ones. And the dude's like, "You bring my wife flowers now?" Blah, 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 blah. And, dude's smoking the cigarette. Old man smoking the cigarette that the smoker gave him. And Ralph goes, "Hey, get off my property." And he does. He takes out the cigarette, throws it on the ground, steps on it, and walks away. Then, after that, they really start finding out he's like a criminal who did tax evasion, and they thought that he might had murdered his wife, but they didn't have enough evidence to prove anything. So that freaks them out. And while that's going on, old man and woman are in the house, you know, not knowing that old man's just staring at woman, and woman's there, and she thinks she's alone. She's putting away groceries, I think, and he's just kind of staring at her, and they do the typical change camera angles, then change back, and he's gone. Ooh, spooky. And right then, you start to learn that he is not the same character anymore. He turns into Joker from the comic books from like the 90s. That's basically who he turns into. He just flips the crap out. He's not even the same villain anymore. He just like starts acting crazy, like, "I did all of these things for us, woman. You're gonna hear creepy things about me, about us, but they're all lies. Don't believe them. I did everything for us. I did everything for you." And he starts like acting like, "Oh yeah, no, she definitely is into me. She definitely knows that I have feelings, and we've been at this for a while. We're in an ongoing relationship, obviously, because she helped me with my ankle and bought my house." Anyways, you find out that he's crazy. She freaks out. She's like, "I'm gonna go take a nap, and you should leave so I can sleep." And she just kind of acts like, I don't know, like she doesn't think that he's insane, but she actually does, obviously. So he's like, yeah, sure. Which he totally would have noticed that earlier in the movie because he had a brain. So she walks off, goes up the stairs to where her bedroom is, sees this cabinet that is moved weirdly, and she goes to check it out, and it's a secret door. So she walks into the secret door, and she's like feeling around for a light switch, and she falls through. I don't know the earth. They don't explain if she fell down stairs or anything. It was pitch black, so you can't see. She didn't use her phone's light or her phone's flashlight or the flash on her phone's camera to see. I don't understand. So after that happens, she's walking around, and it's a little like house bunker thing, and she's like, "Oh whoa," and she like walks down, and she's walking through the room with like the fridge and a stove and things you need to live, and she walks down this long hallway or tunnel or whatever. It's like not really that long, maybe 30 feet, and she walks up a ladder and comes out, and she's in their garden shed, which is right in front of the parking lot. So, like a smart person, she sticks her head out the door, obviously, and he's standing in the parking lot, like, "Oh, dang it, I screwed up. I didn't say the right things. Now she's not gonna go to prom with me. I don't know." And he starts staring at her. He's like, "Whoa, no!" And he like starts flipping out, chases her down. She's running, very poorly, like every horror movie. Trips, opens up a door on accident, and bam, smoker's in a freezer, dead with an axe hole in his body. So she runs upstairs, whatever. He eventually knocks her out. Um, he has her tied up in a bed, but she's asleep. Then like they start like acting like he's gonna force himself on her, but the way that they do that is he's just like licking her shirt. I don't know. Maybe that's how people do it, I guess. Not really. It's not. Have you seen Law and Order? It's TV 14, but they don't show anything, but it's still more realistic than old man licking woman's t-shirt. So Ralph comes home. He's like, "Whoa, what happened?" Because there's like crap everywhere, obviously, because they like fought a little bit. So he goes upstairs. Old man. By the way, did I mention that old man is jacked? He's like really muscular in this movie. So Ralph's like walking up there. Old man beats the crap out of him, throws him off the second floor stairs onto the ground. Then the woman, she like gets up. There's a fight. He laughs hysterically. He's all crazy. He says a bunch of dumb lines. Blah blah blah. Then somehow they get to a point where Ralph and woman are hiding behind a door. You know, the place you hide when you're 5 years old playing hide and seek. And old man's walking around with a shotgun. So they just kind of stand in the exact same place behind a door. And he walks around shooting walls with a shotgun. Also, I forgot to mention this. Ralph's really scared of guns for some reason. And the reason that they say it is because his brother was shot with a gun, and now he freaks out when he sees guns. I'm not gonna critique the dude's trauma because I'm sure there's real people with that kind of thing, but like I don't know why he'd be scared of guns. Wouldn't he just be scared of people who shoot people? I don't know. So old man's walking around, blah 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 blah. And then he sees them, and then they're in a fight, and Ralph smacks him in the face with an aluminum baseball bat. Old man's laying on the ground. Ralph picks up the gun, no longer scared of guns, knows how to use them perfectly, checks to see if there's a bullet in there. The wife, or woman, grabs her phone, dials 911, and old man is standing there, laying there, in the exact same place that he shot his wife. Somehow they got to the exact same place. I don't know. This movie has no logic anyways. So, the old man's laughing hysterically, obviously, because if you couldn't tell, he's insane. And that's how insane people do. Insane people just lay there and laugh. That is scientifically proven, and if you think that's wrong, then it is wrong. Most insane people don't just laugh hysterically. That is not necessarily a sign of insanity, more of a defense mechanism to anxiety. There's a lot of people in really hard and anxious situations that laugh. So, dude is laying there laughing. He's like, "You're not gonna shoot me," and he has a lisp because he got hit in the face with a baseball bat. And the dude's like, "Why is that?" And he's like, "'Cause there's no bullets in the gun." Old man forgot that he reloaded his own gun. And the dude's like, "Check your pocket." And old man's like, "Whoa, I reloaded my gun 5 seconds before I got knocked out." And the wife is on the phone with the operator, and she walks up right behind Ralph, and she goes, "Operator, I need help. My husband just shot an intruder." And they haven't shot him yet. And then Ralph's all like, and they shoot old man. And you don't see it, and you just hear the shot, and then the movie ends and starts playing like some gangster rap music. It was just like, I'm gonna mother effing kill you. And that's just like, whoa, that doesn't fit with the end credit scenes at all. Um, so that's the movie. Great, right? It is the best cinematic feat in 500. You know, this movie's horrible. Obviously, you could probably tell. If you don't believe me, go see it for yourself. It'll probably be worth it. The movie's pretty hilarious. But I'm gonna do the 1 out of 10 scale thing that I usually do. This movie's a 2 out of 10. In quality, in comedic value, I'll give it a 5 out of 10 because it's hilarious in a way that it was never meant to be hilarious. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm not crapping on the actors in this movie. This movie's actors did good for what they were given, which was nothing really. But that's all. Subscribe, hit the post notification bell. Comment below what movie you want me to review next. There's a good comment. I thought about doing a couple different reviews, and I also thought about doing a slightly different type of video called Rewriting the DCEU, which is the DC's movies, starting from Man of Steel to the last one, which was Aquaman. And I've thought about just rewriting the way that those work, because if you know, they didn't work out so well all the time. And I'm thinking about doing that. Who knows? I might if people want that. So tell me below if you do. And if nobody says that, I'll probably still make it. But, you know, whatever. Peace.